everyone, how you doing? My name is Freddie Hernandez. You may know me as Tavarish if you're on the internet and you're looking up Lamborghinis that have been on fire. Joining me is my friend, my partner in crime, and the co-host of the show. His name is Andrew Howell.
That's my name. I am doing great.
You doing good?
Yes.
Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good is your day today?
So we have a question from a
All right.
It's an 8. It's an 8. It's pretty up there.
Let's just get right into
We're gonna
it.
Hey, you know what? We're gonna dive right on in. We're gonna dive right on in on
Yeah,
on
yeah.
this one.
We're a little light on questions in the last few episodes.
Yes.
So let's be question heavy.
So this question is from Rick.
Okay, Rick.
Rick says,
Coral.
"What?
No, nothing. That's nothing.
Okay. Is that from a TV show?
That is from a TV show, Walking Dead.
Never seen it. So he says,
What do you do at home?
what anyone does at home.
Apparently, well, most people they watch TV and understand pop culture. No, well, it's popular culture. No,
What?
okay,
Since when am I about anything that's popular?
dude.
Have you seen these glasses?
That's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. So what does Rick say?
Rick says he would like to follow up our $3,000 driver's car build
Okay.
with another question.
Okay. Cool.
To kind of,
Jeez.
I'm just gonna break everything. break everything every day. He wants to know if we had $6,000,
Okay.
of which only $4,000 can be spent on the car.
All right.
What kind of barely street legal track day car could we build? He says, don't pay any attention to looks or creature comforts. Bonus points for a car that's still fun to drive, but lap times are the main focus.
Okay. I have the perfect scenario, but I'm going to let you go first.
Why? I haven't had time to think.
I also have not had time to think because I just heard this question, but you go ahead.
But I don't want
to pass.
Pass.
Okay, I'll let you simmer a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
So, the company that you work for, Enjuku Racing,
Yes.
has a kit for a 350Z.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would do is I would buy a 350Z. You can buy them pretty cheaply, especially really cheaply if they have a blown engine. So I would buy one for, let's say, $3,000. You can buy one. You can buy one with a ton of miles or whatever.
I can just hop on Copart.
Well, not even Copart. I'd probably go Craigslist because Copart, you don't want one with. These cars have been slid and drifted and probably has some damage and whatever. You don't know how they necessarily are on Copart, but with Craigslist, at least you can go out and see it, and you don't need a broker or something like that. So I would probably find one of those. G35 also works.
Yep.
Those you can find for super cheap.
Yes.
So you can find those for like $3,500 to $4,000. And then what I would do is I would use I would get an Enjuku Racing, or I believe it's ISR.
It's ISR.
Yeah. ISR LS swap kit. Now, a lot of people think you can't swap an LS for $2,000, but ho.
Don't believe me, just watch.
Aha! You can actually get an LS for about $500 to $600. If it comes out of a van, they have a 5.3 liter LS based engine. I think it's the LQ4. I believe that. They also have a bigger one, which is a 6 liter, but it doesn't have an aluminum block like the LS1s and LS3s and all that stuff like that.
It's an iron block.
Yeah, it's an iron block, so it's heavier, but it can take a lot of nitrous. It can take a lot of boost, and it is very readily available because it came in like the GMC Sahara, I believe. It came in like the delivery vans.
And you're sure this would be a direct bolt-in, or is this just like an ideal situation?
No, it's with the kit, with the LS swap kit for the 350Z. Right. Yeah, it's a direct bolt-in. So everything should fit right in. If you don't care about creature comforts, then you can do without AC.
Yep.
You might be able to get away without power steering, even though you could probably jerry rig power steering. Whatever you can get.
Power steering's for chumps.
I mean, you probably want power steering.
Nah.
In any case.
Nah.
But the accessories you can get cheaply, and you'll be right under the budget. Like if you do some really good research and you get the car for a good price, but that'll be a really good track car because you'll have low end torque. With some mods, with like a mild cam, you'll be making I want to say like 450 or something, maybe even 500.
And you know what's really awesome too about the I guess this is a shameless plug for something that Injuku sells, but the ISR kit, it sets the V8 very low and very far back.
Yeah.
So you don't have to. I don't think you'd have to worry a lot about the weight.
Yeah.
Because it's so. It's man, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Awesome. So yeah, so that's what I would do. That transmission can take a lot as far as torque and shock loads and stuff like that. The thing you'd have to worry about then is maybe suspension. But some of those, like if you get a track version, those suspensions are pretty good. The car is a very good platform for performance, and that's what I would do. But there's other ways I can go about it too. I have some other cars that are a little off the beaten path.
Okay.
But I think that would be the number one choice because I think that platform is underused. It's getting overused in the drift community. And it's starting to replace the 240 because people are realizing that the 240, it's not as good a platform as people make it out to be.
Also, people just want so much money for those things.
Well, that's the drift tax.
Yeah, I know it's huge.
That's the E30 tax. You know, the E30 or the BMW. They used to be worthless. I can get one for $500. Now it's like the cheapest one is gonna be $3,500.
Yeah.
Same thing with the 240. I remember when I was in New Jersey still, people wanted like for clean shells they wanted $7,000. You know, oh, this one doesn't have any rust. Like, great, it's still a Nissan's 25 years old and doesn't have a motor. So you know these are economy cars back then. But the 350Z was always supposed to be a sort of sporty, sports car. It's a two-seater. It was very rigid. The platform is awesome. You can do whatever you want. You can do drag. You can do drift. There's plenty of aftermarket support. You can do twin turbo kits. You can do engine swaps, and it looks pretty good. I'm a fan of the look. So if you wanted to get one that's cheap, that somebody had a project with and then maybe blew the engine, or just ran into the ground, and then you want to kind of strip it, make it into a track monster, that would be good. A good power adder to the LS would be some nitrous.
Yeah.
You can do that for a few $100, and that thing can hold a lot of nitrous. You could probably get 150 shot off. And if you want to do like quarter mile times, most likely you can get that into the high tens if you're good. So that's probably what I'd go with. So you have any thoughts?
Yeah.
All right. So
I would do a CRX SIR.
SIR. Do they even make those here?
Do they?
I don't think so.
I'm not a Honda guy,
Okay. All
but
right.
it sounds cool. A CRX Sir.
Yeah. So I know the SIR was the Japanese
Okay, so then just the SI then.
SI. Okay. CRX SI. So
The CRX C.
CRX CCC.
Get a shell and then swap in probably a B16.
B16. Okay. So B16. Why the B series and why not a
K?
K could work.
They're so expensive though.
It depends on what it is because
Yeah.
you can get a K20A3, which is a
Oh, that's one of the newer ones, right?
no.
No?
That's K20A3 is the 02 to 05 Civic Si that made around 160 horsepower. That was like the first iteration. Then there was like a K20Z1, which was the Acura RSX Type S engine, which had around 200 horsepower. And then there was a K20 Z3, which was the Civic Si after that, which made like I think 201 horsepower. It's like they upped it by like a whole 2 horsepower, or 1 or 2 horsepower. So yeah, you can do those. Tend to be a little more expensive.
Yeah.
But you can also get the Accord engine, which is a K24, and then you could put a K20 head, which flows a little bit better for higher RPMs, and then you can have like a K24, which has low end torque and it'd be like a hybrid. And those actually you can get them up to like 250 horsepower NA. Which is insane.
Yeah, and in a CRX that was like stripped out.
Well, yeah, I mean the CRX came stripped out from the factory. It was not a heavy car. I want to say I believe the CRX, not the SI, but the HF, which was like their
High mileage version.
Yeah, I believe it had better fuel economy than it did horsepower.
Yes.
it was like 54 miles to the gallon, but like 52 horsepower. Yes. Something like that.
Yeah, and I think they made HF Civics all the way up to like the mid 2000s, I think.
Yeah, they made HF Civics. They were usually the base models. They had the smallest engines, but they had this eco mode. They were always manual, and they had this little green arrow, like when you just telling you when to shift to conserve the most.
Yeah, the ST has that as well, or had that before I tuned it. I disabled it because it was annoying.
Oh, the eco mode. You'll want to shift up now.
So you want to save the environment.
See, there's a reason why I got the manual, and it's not so you can tell me when to shift.
Yeah. So I just totally disabled the shift light.
Exactly. Yeah, that's perfect. So what would you do? You put a B series, like
probably just to keep it budget friendly.
B series actually is expensive. Like,
are they?
Yeah,
it's been a long time. So I used to want to get into like the Honda game, and we've talked about it in past podcasts about me wanting to get like an EG or an EK hatch,
right?
But I like Hondas. Like I guess I'm coming out on the podcast right now to thousands of people. I like Hondas. I think they're cool.
Dude,
okay,
Hondas are awesome.
They're cool.
Hondas are great.
In a 4-cylinder power like with VTEC, it's just that's awesome. That's really cool.
So shout out to Boosted Boys. They their channel. Have you seen Boosted?
I have been meaning to check out their channel. I have not had the chance.
Okay, so Boosted Boys channel is really, really good.
Okay.
And it's just, I think I talked about it on this podcast before, and it's kind of like Hacker Garage without the drama. It's
I like Hacker Garage.
Hacker Garage has its place as well, but I think this is like if you're into builds, if you're into straight, builds and having fun on a budget and just kind of, it looks like a project made by just guys who love cars, and they don't necessarily have a lot of money, but they have a lot of ingenuity, and they get stuff done. And they're like, if it breaks, it breaks, whatever. So they built a Honda Odyssey with 700 horsepower.
Oh, okay, yeah. I saw that on
Rob Ferretti's.
on Cletus McFarlane's channel.
Yeah. So he went to the Want to Go Fast event with the Rob Ferretti half mile thing.
Yeah,
and they went out there and.
Shout out to Rob Spaghetti, by the way.
Yes. So they went out there with that van making 700 horsepower to the wheels, by the way, the wheels.
So cool.
And what's funny is that transmission was like, it wasn't built or anything. They literally pulled it out of a junkyard and then just slapped it on there. And then I think they blew like third or fourth gear like on the track, and they're like, whatever, it's a junkyard transmission. What are you gonna do? It's built to handle like 130 horsepower. Like we're quadrupling the amount of torque. Yeah, so it's and they had a parachute in the back. It's just insane.
Amazing.
It's insane. And also, I mean, they converted it to manual. Just amazing stuff.
It reminded me kind of like a budget, like Bisimoto 1,000 horsepower.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, a Bisimoto. He spent many thousands of dollars on this thing. And it's
absolutely.
Like, yeah, and these guys were like, well, we got this thing off eBay, and we got some rods, and like we're just gonna put it together and send it.
Yeah, I need to check out Boosted Voice for sure. I need to check that out.
It's so good. So if you guys ever want to come on the podcast, open invite. Really, really good thing. But that kind of solidified my interest in Hondas. Hondas are amazing platforms if you want cheap, I'm not going to say power, but cheap performance.
Performance, yeah.
Because when I was getting into cars and I first got my Lexus, I was like, it was weird how much power you can get out of the 2JZ platform. And one of my friends was talking about, he had a Lexus as well, and he made like 500 horsepower or something. And it was like, 500 horsepower is like nothing. Nothing in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, you count horsepower by the hundreds, like I do a boost controller and I do injectors or whatever, and like you added 200 horsepower to your car. Meanwhile, Hondas, in order to get the same, in order to get kind of a good increase or the same amount of money, you're like, oh, I went from 160 to 220.
Right.
And that's a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So like, oh, I got intake manifold, I got a port and polish, I got all this stuff, I got light and flywheel, and the car is like, 220 at the wheels. Meanwhile, somebody else like, I just turned up the boost and I got it up to 1,000. Yeah. So there's a little bit of a delta there. But with Hondas, now that people, there's a lot of people out there that just don't care if they break it, and they're like, we'll slap an eBay turbo on it, and eBay turbos have gotten a lot better as well.
Yeah.
They're still not great. Like you still might get a dud and grenade your engine, but now at least I think they might be balanced. That before it was like whatever it looks like a turbo, that's what we're gonna send them, and then you get there and it has so much shaft like ding, 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 ding. This is new. Yeah, so they you can throw so much boost at these things. Like you just do a few mods. Like Boosted Boys had a build where they put eBay rods and pistons, like some upgraded, right? But they were still, I don't know, like $200 or something. Just upgraded internals for a Civic engine, and with a eBay turbo, I believe, and they made like 500 horsepower, And this was on a car that nobody really cares about, like an economy car.
Why aren't we doing this?
No, I mean, these cars, like I wouldn't want to drive this car for long distances,
I would.
And
I would.
Please
Sign me up.
Me. I think that the car. I used to be when I was younger. I guess when I was these guys' ages. I used to think that power was kind of the end all be all, and the quarter mile, that was like a really big deal. I remember my Maxima days, like ran at 13. Like 13 is quick. 13 is real fast. Like, dude, you're making like 250 horsepower. That is, you're unstoppable. You're unstoppable. And for a moment you were, but now I want a car that, especially after going on the track and whatever, you want a car that can handle. You want a car that can brake. You want a car that is a really good experience, because I don't know about you, but I hate the feeling when you're driving somewhere and you find a really good road just like out of nowhere. It's desolate and it's just all yours, but you're in the wrong car. That's one thing I hate. And if it's like if I'm driving my SL or something like that, it's like, well, I can do everything. I can do the quarter mile. I can do track days or whatever. And if I find that road, if I'm just driving and I'm like, hey, this thing is pretty good, you can open it up. But with a Civic, it's like, all right, you have to find a straight road, but if there's any turns, you are understeering into the nearest ditch.
That's why you get like a CRX and you spend basically all your money on suspension mods.
Sure, yeah. So
and make it a momentum car.
Yes. So for that, I think I'd agree with you. Like, what would you do as far as because you do away with creature comforts? Like, what would you do?
Basically, it would be a metal box with seats and a steering wheel, and then literally everything else would be gone. I would probably even get rid of the dash.
I mean, the dash is. Why would you get rid of the dash?
Just more weight.
I guess, but it's like you have wires and stuff back there.
Race car.
Race cars have dashes.
Okay, hardcore race car.
More race car than race car, man.
Yeah, man. More race car than race car.
I was gonna. Yeah. For you kids that don't know what that was, it's
there's a band from back in the day called White Zombie.
Yeah, and they had a song called "More Human Than Human,"
which is actually a reference to my favorite movie of all time.
Wait, I know what this is. Is it Jack and Jill with Adam Sandler? Is it Jack and Jill with Adam Sandler? Is it Blade Runner? I know. Yeah.
Yes, Blade Runner.
Okay.
Where my cyberpunk homies at? Hey.
Oh, awesome. Okay,
anyways, so yeah, that's what I would do. Lots of suspension mods, some real sticky icky tires, and maybe some Craigslist or junkyard wide wheels, and then some upgraded brakes. Probably just get some better pads.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah, that's a solid thing. I would. You can do a GT car as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, I talk about this. I talked about this in the last one. But if we have $6,000, then you can, you can definitely make a Toyota Supra Mark III happen.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Big time.
So you can get one that's, I'm not gonna say the nicest one in the world, but you can definitely get
Well, again, we're not going for looks. We're just going for lap times.
So if you get a turbo 5-speed, which had a really good 5-speed, had an R154, didn't shift very well. It shifted kind of like a truck, but it could hold a lot of power, somewhere around 700 horsepower. Or 700. I know people are going to get on me about it's not measured in horsepower, it's measured in torque, but like whatever the equivalent of 700 horsepower in a Mark III Super is, it's probably around 600 something foot-pounds of torque, right? So it can hold a lot of power. It is, I want to say that you can get a decent amount of weight reduction if you take out all of those creature comforts.
Absolutely.
Because it had stuff like, if you have a Targa roof, it had a Targa roof and it had like a bunch of weird reinforcement stuff. It had, the seats were really heavy. It has back seats. You can take those out. It has trunk lining and carpeting and all that stuff.
Headliner and dashboard and carpet and
steering wheel,
door panels,
wheels,
and windows, and
suspension,
and motor. Motor's real heavy. You want to take that out right away.
Yeah.
Really
you
want to add that.
You want to get rid of that. That's a dead weight. It's like an anchor. No, but it had like a suspension that was called Thames. It was I don't know what it stands for, but it was like this active suspension, very rudimentary.
Toyota electronically managed suspension. I don't know. I'm guessing.
That might be it.
It might be because I'm pretty.
That's about to be on the Wikipedia.
Hey, it's going to be on the what?
That's about to be on the Wikipedia.
You watch your language.
So it had this suspension, and that can go. You can just get a set of coilovers. I'm not sure if you can do that many mods to it right out of the gate, but you can probably get a decently sorted one with intake exhaust and maybe boost controller or something like that. Maybe like not a standalone, but like a piggyback for the ECU. And they respond very well. You can probably get up to 350 wheel horsepower, which is right at the edge of that turbo. I think it was like a CT26 turbo that it had, which is a decent sized turbo. It's like similar to the one in my MR2. But it's just a bigger housing, I believe. So that car would be good. I think you can get it down to like maybe 3,200 pounds, maybe a little less. And it would be a good car for track days and whatnot. It handles quite well. Some people use them for drifting. Not many, I think, just because it's a little on the heavy side. But if you want to have just a grip car and you don't care about it, smashing into something, the parts availability is pretty good. Yeah. So I think that's probably what I do. But you can, for $6,000, you can actually buy a lot. I'm just thinking about it. You can do Mustangs. Mustangs are pretty good for lap times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, aren't the Fox bodies pretty good at that?
So fun fact, the Fox body is it's like the longest running Mustang like ever. It's the Fox body platform. I think it went from like 79 to 03.
Yeah.
It's
no, not to 03.
Yeah. It's the same platform.
Oh, the platform.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the platform, I don't believe the 95s and 90. Yeah, there's like a split year, like 94 and 95. 95, that weird, the one I used to have for the BS for Build Challenge, when I bought for that, that's not the angled looking one, but the curvy one. I don't think that's called a Fox body, but it shared the platform, meaning that all the suspension,
the underpinnings were the same.
Everything was the same. It just had a different engine. Had the 4.6 modular, but then they had. In 01, they changed the engine and they basically gave it like another 100 horsepower. Yeah, it's and like with some head work, like you can literally make 300 something horsepower, like NA really good. 4.6 makes a decent amount of power. But the other one was like, I think it made 250, and it was fine. You can open it up. Mine made I don't know how much horsepower it made. It sounded pretty good because I cut the exhaust off.
Yeah.
But I think that car you can make into a decent performer just because it has, it's so easy to mod. The parts are so cheap. You can get springs for it for like nothing. Like it's like $100 for performance springs, and it's a live rear axle, so it's really good at drag launches. So if you want to pump a lot of power into it, you can put nitrous on it. It can hold a decent amount of power. You could probably get an 11-second pass and maybe blow it up a few passes later. But I think that would be a good starting. Well, not a starting point, but I think that also would be a good way to go. But I mean, do you have any other cars you think about?
Maybe like an E36 3 Series coupe. I don't think you could do how much are E36 M3s? Like a crappy one.
Well, I had a crappy one, so
But then you have like repair costs.
I didn't have
to
them
get
anymore.
it.
Well, I bought a crappy one for $1,000.
Really?
Yes.
An M3?
M3.
Really?
It was a 4-door though. Yeah.
Still, it's an M3.
Yeah, M3 5-speed. Well, I don't think I've told the story on this podcast, but it was a E36 M3. I think it was a 98, and it belonged to my friend. And my friend went to a New Year's party or something. He came out, and then you saw that some pickup truck had backed up into his car.
Oh no!
Like destroyed the grill and the hood and whatever. And the car still drove fine. Didn't like it
Didn't
just
damage
had
radiator or anything?
No, it was cosmetic damage, right? So he goes to the insurance and he says, "Hey, there's a hit and run. I have full coverage, so do your thing, insurance." And insurance got
Insurance, I choose you.
yeah. So the insurance basically says we're going to total the car because we can't get the hood open because they bashed into the mechanism. We can't get the hood open, so we don't know what's wrong. So we're going to total the car. And he was like, well, okay, but like I drove it here, like it can't be that bad if it's like it can't be that bad. So what they allowed him to do though, they said we'll total the car, we'll give you the money for the car,
And you buy it back.
you buy it back for $500.
Dang.
Yeah, so you buy it back for $500, and I was there when they gave him the thing, and basically they handed him a check at minus $500, and he kept the car. So it's like they give him a check and like, you do whatever you want with this money. So
You do you, boo boo.
yeah, exactly. Like just you fix the car or whatever. And I told him, I'll give you $1,000. So you want to make another $500? Like I'll give you $1,000 and I'll take the car. And he was like, all right. So I gave him $1,000, and I ended up buying a E36 328i, which was the same color, for $700.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was in New Jersey, and I got it. Like it had a problem running, which I didn't care.
Yeah. Parts car.
Yeah, so it was a parts car, and I got the hood, I got the front fascia. The bumper on his car was unscathed, so all I did was get the hood, the front fascia, and like a fender, I believe, and I just grafted it on there. I had to end up cutting the stock hood because the mechanism to open it up, that was all broken. So I just fixed that with the parts car. And it was like nothing happened. It was perfectly fine. And that's how I got a car for, well, let's say M3 for $1,700. I think I ended up selling it for like $3,500 or something.
Nice.
But that car, you can probably get one of those for $4,000, maybe. Their problem is rust.
Yes.
They have a huge rust problem.
Yes.
So I would be really wary about anytime you have any German car, any German M3, as opposed to other M3s that may not be German.
A Chevy M3.
Yeah. Anytime you get a Hyundai M3, run because that doesn't exist. Because you are tripping.
Oh man.
Yeah. So you look under the rocker panels because the rocker panels there's like some really thin metal. And in the northern states, they have a huge problem with rust. But here, I think M3s have gone up in value.
Most likely. The 90s cars seem to be on the up and up recently.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is, if you want to get a 328 or something, or 325i, that has a very similar engine to the M3 engine. Because that was the M3 engine in the US, we got like it's not even a detuned engine of the Euro one, because it's like a completely different. It was like an uprated version of the 325i engine.
Right, which is still less horsepower than the Euro version, but more horsepower than the motor that it's based off of. It's like in the middle.
Yeah. So the horsepower that it's based off of, I think the 325i had like 220 horsepower. And then the E36 M3 had, I believe, 242 or something like that.
Gross, that's really low.
Yeah. The BMW M3 in Europe, 332 horsepower.
Yeah.
With a 6-speed. We only got a 5-speed here.
Right.
And it's weird. Like that. There's this whole story with they didn't think Americans wanted the M3, so there was like a letter writing campaign to BMW saying, "Please, please, please bring the M3 here." And then they're like, "Okay, we'll bring the M3, but you guys get like the worst one."
You get the kindergarten version.
Yeah, you get Weenie Hut Juniors, right? You get you get the Lego Duplo version. Like they give you safety scissors. Like here you go. All right,
Don't run with the scissors.
yeah. Meanwhile, they have like independent throttle bodies and the 6-speed and it's setting lap records. And here we have like these things are junk. Like
Yeah.
Yeah. So the M3, you can probably get a crap one. If it doesn't have rust, you probably get a crap one for around $4,000. I don't know. I still think that's a stretch, but 325i is a good. But what would you do to it? Like, what can you do?
Same thing with the Civic. I would just strip it and then get some decent tires and maybe some lowering springs. Not even go full coils because budget build.
Sure. I mean, do they have that? Like, what's their power delivery? They're not terribly fast cars, right?
Yeah, I mean, but again, I was talking about Hondas earlier. They're not really fast either.
Yeah, I know, but they have the thing of power to weight. You know, like Hondas, you can get them down to like weigh nothing. You can, if you strip out a CRX, like you're probably looking at 1,800 pounds.
Yeah,
like this is go-kart territory. Like with a BMW, there's not a ton you can take out. Even if you take out everything, you'll probably get it down to what, like 32. I may be completely wrong on this, but
I think it'd be a little lighter. It's like literally everything but the steering wheel and the seats and like the speedometer, like gauge cluster.
What would you do about safety?
Race car?
Race cars have safety though. It's not like the GTLM car that I drove in. It had end roll cage.
So I would just pull like a Group B rally thing and like just use a PVC pipe roll cage.
Oh my god. That I think that you have to explain that a little bit because
Group B rally is like one of the most romanticized racing series ever in the history of racing.
Right.
And it was a rally series. And so basically there weren't really any rules.
This was back in the 80s, right?
Yep. There weren't really any rules. And you just kind of like you ran what you brought.
Yeah, so a lot of companies, they ran their most high horsepower cars just on the ragged edge with race car drivers that did not care. And
like multiple spectators were killed during these races just because of how
it was a regular event, yeah.
Yeah. Just how close people got to the track. The cars didn't really have any safety.
If you ever see that one iconic video where the rally driver is going at race pace and people are just like
moving out of
parting,
the way. Yeah.
like Moses in the Red Sea. Yeah, it's insane. Like
it's incredible.
How it wasn't just a Mustang style cars and coffee event. But a lot of people did get like drivers. Did drivers die? I believe drivers died.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of drivers usually would die in like severe crashes or like car fires.
Yeah.
Spectators were usually struck and killed, and a lot of times the drivers didn't know. They just kept driving.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, if you're headed straight ahead and you nudge somebody on the side of your car, you're in a rally car. There's a lot of things that are bumps and
you're just thinking you're just like, oh, that was another rock.
Yeah. That's insane. But Group B rally, oh god.
And so anyway, to pass the like safety inspections, oftentimes, and also to save weight, a lot of these manufacturers would put in dummy roll cages.
Right.
So they would just get PVC pipe, essentially, and just kind of paint it to look like a roll cage.
Yeah. So it was just a visual inspection because they weren't checking welds or anything like that.
No.
I believe it was like a thing on the Grand Tour or something like that. They were talking
recently. They did have an episode on it.
Was it Maserati or Lancia or something?
It was Lancia. They were talking mostly about Lancia and I believe Audi, where that was the rivalry,
right?
Like during the last year of Group B.
Yeah.
The Lancia Type 037 versus the Audi Quattro.
Yeah. And they were talking about how they moved cars from one end of the city to another because there's a homologation rule, meaning that you have to have at least 500 cars or something like that in your inventory, or like you have to make 500 road cars for it to qualify
for sale.
For sale for it to qualify. And I think Lancia was like, oh, we have 250 cars
on this side of town.
On this side of town.
And then we'll go to the other side. Oh, hey, let's stop and have lunch real quick and have like a 3-hour lunch. Meanwhile, all those 250 cars were being moved from point A to point B. And so they'd finish lunch, go to the next location, and here are the other 250 cars. And then that would be like, oh, yeah, cool.
They have a really long dinner.
Classic.
Oh, my God. That is so Italian.
Oh, it's amazing. Man, that's amazing. It's so good.
That's what I was talking about in the last podcast, where it's like these big companies, and they're just resorting to these, like,
backyard tactics.
Yeah, these like schoolyard tactics.
Yeah. We have all this money, but this car was built in a shed. Like, looking at you, Dodge, for the Viper.
Like, yeah, we're basically building a go-kart with 500 horsepower.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Okay, we're gonna sell this to people? Like, yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Isn't it dangerous? Of course.
Nah.
Just don't crash. Okay, cool. So that's so you would pick a BMW.
I feel like we need to start thinking about doing feature builds for this channel.
I would love to do that. We can do that. It's just time. Like where do time? How do time happen?
Well, then the time, and then you have it, but then it goes.
See, the problem is, like, I have this Lamborghini build. I make videos every day, and people are like, it's hilarious how people are very impatient. They're like, why don't you just start it? Like, yeah, it's not like I'm building a 1,000 horsepower Lamborghini in my garage and I've never done it. Like, yeah, it's not like that, right? I'm just,
but can we just go start it real quick?
Like, no, it's just like, just start it. Like,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm doing metal fabrication now with a viewer, a friend of mine, Tony. And metal fabrication takes a long time.
Yes, it does.
It took 4 hours to do like one little bend in a pipe, just to make it, bend in a pipe for the turbo. And I wager that it's going to take, a few weeks to get all the piping for the turbo kit done. So if people don't want to stick around for that, that's fine. But this is how long things take. And I've only had this car for a month. Like, I've only been making videos for a month, and it's pretty close to getting started.
Yeah.
So I already did, like, we already have the engine out, the trans out, we fixed the clutch, we like got a bunch of new parts, and redoing the turbo kit. Like, this is moving along pretty briskly.
For a garage project that's a Lamborghini.
Yeah, for a garage project that's literally never really been done, especially on this scale. Like, there are people on YouTube actually there's a guy named Peter Bjork, and he has a twin turbo Lamborghini that he's building. I believe he's in Sweden or Norway, something like that. And I've talked to him on Instagram. Super cool guy, and he's doing everything very. He took the engine apart, built it, and whatever. He has 2 Lamborghinis, and this one is a 570, I think, LP 570 that he's building with twin turbos, and doing a whole build on it. But I mean, he posts maybe once every month, once every 2 months. And, he just lays out everything he's doing. Like, this is how far I've gotten. And, when you have a day job, it gets difficult. But I've been doing stuff like every day. And if people are like, I do have comments that are like, oh, you're just milking this project for everything. I'm like, this is what a build is. Like,
you want to come help?
Exactly. Like, this. What do you think a build looks like?
Yeah.
It's not like, this is why I sort of hate the Fast and Loud, Gas Monkey Garage, that type of thing, because it's like, well, we got 7 days, we gotta put all hands on deck, because if I don't get this car out, then I'm gonna lose my shirt. And no, that's a TV show. See, it's like a cooking show. They buy a cheap car, and they've already been working on a similar car for 2 weeks, and that's what people don't know. Like, if you ask anybody in the industry, they'll know that that's what's going on. They have a car that's already being worked on and already is like the finished product. But then they have to play it up for the camera. Like, we just found this, barn find and whatever, and we're going to restore it in 7 days. Like, that's impossible. Like, it's just, unless you're cutting every single corner, and then you just want to make it look good for the cameras, and then maybe have it do a burnout or something. But if you look at a show like Roadkill, and we can probably get into Roadkill and the Motor Trend thing, how they went off YouTube, we can get that into that in the next episode. But if you look at a show like Roadkill, that is a high production value show. They have many people. They don't have many people working on it. It's usually just the 2 or 3 people. It's just usually Finnegan and Freiberger and maybe
2 cameramen.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I mean, just working on the cars. I mean,
oh yeah.
It might be them and maybe some other Motor Trend guys. But some of these builds, they take, a week or so of filming. And at the end, they have a car that's barely running. Like they always have problems with, the car's overheating. And, they go through this troubleshooting in real time. They go, we have to have a car we got it from the junkyard and we have to drive it 2,000 miles. The car's going to have issues.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, they're going to have, they skimp on things like heating and,
AC
AC is a luxury that nobody can afford at this point. But I'm talking about heating, like they'll have giant holes in the floor and they're driving, to Alaska.
with blankets on their
legs.
legs.
With blankets because like otherwise it'd freeze to death. Or like they have a wagon with the window open, but then all the carbon monoxide starts coming
roiling
in.
Like, in the
yeah, like, oh crap, we didn't think of this. And that's the thing. Like that's what builds are. Like when this Lamborghini, like I'll turn it on, there's going to be a host of other problems that I have to figure out now.
Yeah.
It's not like, all right, I'm done. Let's go to the track. Like that's not going to happen. This is unless you want to see some epic fail and then people are going to be like, he doesn't know what he's doing. I would have done it differently. It's just
okay,
not
then
realistic.
do it.
But they're not going to.
Yeah.
They're not going to. A lot of people like to talk, but very few people like to actually do the thing. And there are definitely people who can do this better than me, but I haven't seen anybody do it, so I feel like why not?
Yeah.
And if people don't like it, they don't have to watch. It's not a problem. It's different strokes for different folks.
Yep.
Horses for courses. So I think that's gonna be it.
Cool.
Yeah, that was really fun. So if you'd like to contact us, you can do so at iwrencheveryday@gmail.com. We also have a Twitters and an Instagrams. We have both of those accounts, and we should be posting soon. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll try and find something to post, I guess.
Yeah. Great incentive for people to follow us. So it's at Wrench Every Day for both of those. If you want to follow me, you can do so at The Real Tavarish. That's Instagram and Twitter. Facebook.com/AskTavarish and AskTavarish@gmail.com is my email. But if it's something directed at us and this podcast, just go to iwrencheveryday@gmail.com. That'll be way better. So, Andrew, where can they find you?
I can be found on Twitter at 1565. That's the word 15, the number 65, and also on Instagram at HeavyMetalFL.
Awesome. So, I think that's it. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So until next time, this is me, Tavarish, for Andrew Howell, reminding you guys to wrench every day.